So as y'all probably know, I have done quite a bit of reviews on various types of cameras, and the camera I have today is probably the most interesting camera I have yet to review. This is the OBSBOT Tail Air. This was the flagship camera until recently of the Tail 2, but today I'm going to be talking about this camera, and particularly its use cases and how you can use it in various forms of video production. All that and more in today's video. What's going on, everybody? James Jackson here, back again with another video. If you're new here, I do tips, tricks, news, and reviews for the film and video making industry. So if this is content that you like, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can stay up to date on all the content going forth. Now, full disclosure, OBSBOT did send me the Tail Air as long with the remote for this review. Now, OBSBOT is not sponsoring this video. They are not paying me. However, I do get to keep the OBSBOT Tail Air and I get to sell it if I want to. So technically this is a paid promotion video, and I like to be open and honest with you guys at all times. And I should also point out that OBSBOT is not going to see this video before it's released, and I get to say whatever I want to say. And you all know I'm going to give my honest opinion on any product. And also, just to point out, with this channel, I don't put up products that I don't believe in and don't use on a daily basis. That's just my code of ethics here on this channel. So if you see me doing a product, good chance that I already like it. But I will still be critical and provide feedback if need be. So I wanted to get that out of the way. I also want to point out that OBSBOT is also giving me a promotional code that you can get a discount for if you decide to purchase the OBSBOT Tail Air. I'm going to have that linked right here on the screen right now, as I will also have it linked down in the description below, and I'll have some affiliate links down there that will go to support this channel and help me continue to make this channel grow. So if you are interested in the OBSBOT Tail Air, check out those affiliate links and make sure to use my promotional code, and you can basically get it at no additional cost to you with a little discount, and some little support comes my way. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get on to the review. As I mentioned at the top of the video, this is the OBSBOT Tail Air. This is what many people would call a PTZ camera. A pan, as you see here, a tilt, as you see here, and Z is for the zoom. You see these typically a lot in event spaces and conferences, concerts, things like that. Typically, you would have these staged up and set up and rigged that way. Or if you're doing streaming, maybe you do Twitch and stuff, this is a great tool to have because it also accepts NDI, and you can connect this directly to your computer to where you can control it. So in those spaces, this is great. But what about in the sense of filmmaking? In what ways would something like this be useful? Well, I'm going to go over those ways of using it today. And I feel that this is particularly maybe something you may want to be interested in, especially given the cost at around $500 at full price. But I also know OBSBOT sometimes does have some deals going on. If I do find those deals, I'll leave those in the description down below. Just in case you've never heard of this thing, I'm gonna just give you guys a quick spec rundown. This is a 4K PTZ camera that can shoot 4K up to 30 frames a second. It is a 1/1/8 inch sensor, so smaller than a 1/8 sensor, something like that's in the Osmo Pocket 3. It has 5 times digital zoom in it, which you can basically go in and zoom in on the image and basically go in as much as you want. The only thing I will say is because there's just not enough resolution, so when you do zoom in, you're kind of limited to, I would say, something like 1.3. If you're going to be delivering to something like 1080, that's plenty enough zoom. But beyond that, I wouldn't really go beyond that, just in terms of zoom. So let's talk about the body. This is actually a well-built design. It's very sturdy, very well built. I think it's definitely well designed. It doesn't feel cheap, even though it is only $500. As I'll see here, this has a 300-degree full rotation. So you can rotate this 300 degrees. You can't do a full 360 degrees. There is a limit. But if you get the charger base, you can do full 360 degrees with that, which will also be cool because then it also lasts significantly longer. But that doesn't shy away from how long this lasts itself. This thing lasts roughly around somewhere between 2.5 to 3 hours just on its own. But all you have to do is just get a simple battery bank like this, or you can get one of these P63s that I love, that I've kind of converted to a little V-mount. Take a Type-C, because there is a Type-C port right here, and you can essentially plug it in and you can run it till your heart's desires. The main thing I think that's the really solid point is just how tiny this is. Typically PTZ cameras are way bigger and way heavier than what this is. This is nothing, which gives it such the unique thing to where you can take this out and about, and you can take this anywhere that you want. To me, if you're gonna get this guy, the perfect combination for this guy is the Ulanzi TT38, which is this tripod head right here. I personally love this guy because I can set it up on a table like this, or particularly how I've been using it is I've have this with this on the wedding, and I'll sit it right down the aisle, or if I'm able to, I can hang it on the I'll hand it on the first row of like a church or wherever the venue's at. And this is typically the shot I use to catch the bridal down, or just just to be able to catch something in case that I don't miss it. And it's just very simple because all I have to do is just attach it there. I can still run everything wirelessly and remotely with it. And that's really the cool thing. The other thing I would say, this is an accessory that you would absolutely want to get, is the remote, because outside of this, the only way else to really control it, you could control it from your phone through the app. I'll get to the app later, so that is the option. But I have personally found, in terms of controlling it, this is the best option. I do like an analog thing where it's just completely separate, and that's what we get here, where I can control everything from pre to zoom. You can actually do a tracking, which I will set this guy right here for a second, and I can just hit the tracking button right here, and it will engage the tracking. And there it goes. And as you can see here right now, without even going into the app or anything, I am recording, and as well as I'm keeping the tracking going. Now, this right now is in its HDR mode, and you're probably noticing some certain things about it. I think this is a good time to sort of get into the image quality of this device. And what's amazing about this device, what really blew me away, was actually how good the image quality is. It's a relatively small sensor, but just in terms of the image quality out of this thing, it is really, really impressive. And what I really find amazing about this image is just the fact that how good it is, even though it's only an 8-bit image. I've seen some 10-bit images that even fall apart faster than this image does, especially when you engage the HDR mode, which is absolutely fantastic in very limited modes. So like right now I have the tracking on and the camera will move. I personally would tell you, if you have HDR mode on, I would tell you to essentially turn the tracking off and basically only have it to where you have it static, kind of like where it is right now. And you're not having a lot where the camera's doing a lot of movement, because the way the HDR works is the fact at how the camera basically stitches the high stuff and the low stuff together and stitches them together. So it's taking multiple shots. And with movement, you really do see the stitching or sort of edge, especially on the extreme contrast edges when you have a moving zone where it just, you get a huge amounts of digital artifacts. However, if you got just a static shot like what I have right now, where I'm not really moving, there's not a lot of movement going on, I'm not walking or anything, and the camera's not moving, this is actually a really, really good way of doing it. Now, what you see right here is actually the standard mode, which is, you know, as you can see, there's definitely a loss of dynamic range. However, this is where I would say if you're going to engage the tracking, this is the best way to engage the track. Because now, as you see, as I move, you're not seeing all those digital edges. So in cases where you need some dynamic movements and things like that, I think you going to the standard profile mode works really well. And in fact, I still think this is actually pretty great if, again, you make sure to get your exposure correctly. And that's one of the things I would say. To the final piece that I'll say you definitely want to make sure you have in terms of accessories is this set of ND filters that OBSBOT does sell. You will definitely need those in more difficultly situations. The methodology that I found with the OBSBOT Tail Air is make sure the priority should be make sure your skin tones are not clipping is number one priority. Number one, don't overexpose the skin tones. Next priority is protect your highlights. And then the last one is protect your shadows. I found that there's a lot of wiggle room within the shadows that you can sort of move around it. But the key thing is the main thing you definitely want to do is protect those skin tones. Now, the sound is probably not going to sound great, but quote right there, because what I could do is take one of my Rode Wireless Pros and take the transmitter and then just put the transmitter onto the side and plug this, and it has a little lock here, and there is a 3.5 millimeter jack on the OBSBOT, so you can plug it in, and it's not connected to the part of the base that actually rotates, so you don't have to worry about, you know, the base, you know, twisting and potentially breaking it. So that's a really good treat to it. You also have a micro HDMI as well with the OBSBOT Tail Air that you can connect to, say, an ATEM Mini that you can plug it into, and you can set things up that way. And all of this right here is a really tiny setup that, as you can see here, let me turn the tracking off real quick, disengage that and send this up. But as you can see here, this is a pretty like very minimalistic setup right here in terms of what you got here for something that that has a very, very solid base to it, and you can get pro audio into it. Now, obviously this setup is going to bring a lot of people doing comparisons to the Osmo Pocket 3, and of course I have it, and I will definitely talk about the comparisons between that, so that is a future video, so check that out. But I just do love the fact that I love the way this is set up and how, you know, simple and easy. And this sort of leads to, in terms of the different scenarios that I have used this for. So scenario one is of what I love is sort of this setup right here, which is this low angle shot looking up to your subject. It has this very dominating presence. This is like, maybe you have your key antagonist that can feel very menacing and things like that. I love this I love this setup just purely because it allows me to get this sort of different thing without putting a lot of sets, and I don't have to worry about setting so much stuff up. So in terms of a narrative setup, this is what I really love. The next setup that I really do love this for is time lapses. And yes, this does allow you to use time lapses, and for weddings in particular, or in terms of travel videos, for my travel videos and things like that. the time lapse is awesome, and it gives you a wide variety of ways that it stitches the different photos and frames up where you can get this beautiful time lapse. The next shot that I love is this shot right here, which is like the direct profile shot where maybe someone has a message, and because this feels authentic. This feels like I am, sending a message to a loved one or something, or maybe I'm sending a message to a colleague. If this is some action film that I'm trying to get some secret things out, having this profile shot right here where I'm looking directly down the barrel of the lens. And what's really cool, especially with this, is that you have it to where you can still set yourself up, and then it's just like you can give like a dramatic zoom just like that if you want to. And that's the beauty about it. It's like you can add all this stuff. And probably the most frequent setup I have for this one is the fly on the wall, or in the case of more narrative stuff, is BTS. I'll have this set up, and I'll have this set up for like BTS shots where I'm doing behind the scenes stuff, and it works really well. And I like the fact that if I have that HDR on and I just set it and I'm just having a stills mode, I don't have to worry about settings or scenarios and things like that. Or I'll use the standard mode, especially if I'm given trying to do some behind the scenes where I'm sort of giving tutorials and sort of giving ideas, where I'm talking about different things or sort of lighting setups. This has sort of been my go-to. Before it was the Osmo Pocket, and I'll go more into why I've moved into this over the Osmo Pocket in terms of BTS. Again, we'll get more into that later. But in terms of weddings, I love this guy for weddings, because if you shoot weddings, one of the hardest things, sometimes the most difficult thing to do, especially if you're doing a small crew of 2, or maybe you're doing some solo weddings, getting the bride coming down the aisle, because everybody stands up when the bride enters. This sort of takes away any of that, because I can just set this on the floor. It's not the ideal shot that I want, but I at least have it to where a lot of times I find it very difficult to get the bride up until she reaches closer to the altar area. Having this where I can have her walking down the aisle, and also I can still track her as well. So this can track her, and it'll rotate and follow her as she is going towards the altar, and then I can always adjust. Speaking of adjustments, I get this will be a little tease for the Osmo Pocket comparison video, but one of the things that I love so much about it that I could never do with the Osmo Pocket 3 is that I can actually change the settings as this thing is rolling, which is like a godsend, especially on weddings where exposure changes. I need to make adjustments without stopping. I can do that. The only thing I can't change is the HDR mode to standard mode. That you have to set ahead of time if you want to shoot HDR or you want to shoot SDR. Outside of that, you can change the white balance, you can change the exposure, you can change all these different parameters, and the camera will still be recording. Now, it's all not great and joy with this camera. There is definitely some quite a few things that I have cons about this camera. The first thing, and obviously anybody that is an Osmo Pocket user or understands what the Osmo Pocket is, that there is no screen absolutely at all on the actual device itself. And personally, I know this is a PTZ camera, so this is designed to work in a studio setup environment, so something with a video switcher of some port or working directly with a computer. That is sort of the layout, and I get all that. But just being able to have a little LCD screen on there would have been an amazing thing to have, to where you could just see what you are working with. There's clearly you got LEDs in terms of lighting to light this up. I don't see why we couldn't just get a little curved LCD screen that we can put on here. I think that would have been phenomenal if we could have got that. In terms of packaging, I really wish OBSBOT sold some sort of case or something that everything can go together, or the case that it does come with. I really wish this was larger and could house way more stuff, because I can't even put the remote that I have here into this case without potentially damaging the camera itself, let alone the ND filters that, to me, again, I say, these are the bare minimum things that you would want in a camera like this. And the fact that I have to have all of this stuff carried separately is a pretty annoying and frustrating deal. I really do wish OBSBOT will make will offer a case that's larger, that can house all the different accessories that you could have in one single pouching, so I don't feel the need to carry everything out to it. The other big thing and the other negative gripe for me is the app. If you're not going to use something like their Talent switcher monitor, or you're not connected to a computer or something, the app, I mean, overall it is fine, but the things that have frustrated me is one, you have to connect either Wi-Fi or you have to connect through mobile data, and I find it takes way too long to get into it, and also there's too many steps. I wish it would just automatically connect and I don't have to worry about that. And also I found that sometimes that the control would disconnect, and that kind of gets frustrating, which is why I always say to get the remote control, because trying to do this via the joysticks, I've personally have not been a fan of it. There seems to be a little bit of a delay when I try to, versus the remote here, where I got way more smoother. The controls feel way better, and everything makes sense here. So personally, I don't like the controls, but the app is also the only way you can change the settings. There's no way you can change the settings on the remote. So that's the other thing. So I really wish there was a more cohesive all-in-one setup where I didn't need to go to the mobile app and find all these different ways to make it work. To me, that's the biggest hindrance of the Tail Air for me, is the fact that there's so many different pieces that I have to involve in order to just make it properly work. Having said all that, this thing has been phenomenal, and it's a joy to work with. It's really, once you get everything together and set up, it's really easy to set up and it's really easy to use. I do enjoy using this, especially on weddings, where it's a different shot, and I love it as sort of a fly on the wall, something to capture when things are away. I just love the idea of just having this as a fly on the wall around my house and just capturing things around, and it's been working really, really great for me. But from a narrative and a filmmaker standpoint, I do see that this is a tool that you could possibly use on sets. What if you have like suction cups and you could stabilize for maybe for a driving shot, or like I said, you want to do like get very unique different angles. And again, for $500, it's a really, really good camera, and the image quality is actually punches way above its weight and its asking price. Anyways, this is it for me for the OBSBOT Tail Air. I would love to know what you guys think about this. Let me know, leave your comments down below. And as always, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, take care, everyone.